Hello and welcome to this week's Thursday Tip-Bit. It's just a tiny little tip and it's a bit of information. And this week we're going with something that has come up in a few places and even comes up for me sometimes, and I have to remind myself of this. So this is why I've chosen it as Thursday's Tip-Bit. And that is using the telephone. Using the telephone for what it was actually invented for. No! Terrifying, picking up the phone and calling people. It is surprising how in the last, I would say, 10 years, I have really noticed that lots of people are terrified to pick up the phone. So I've just got a few tiny tidbits for you. And if, for those of you who are watching this live, have got any comments, please do let me know. So what is it about picking up the phone and making a call that people avoid? There's two ways. Some people just won't answer the phone now if they don't know who has called them. And other people won't pick up the phone to make calls. And whether this is in your business life or your personal life, the telephone is actually a really great way to make connections. Why? Well, number one, it's quicker. So if you get through, you get an automatic reaction. You save all those annoying back and forth emails or da-da-da and da-da-da and this and this. If for some reason you are doing the emails because you need, or you feel you need, an email trail to prove that you have said what you did, pick up the phone, have the phone call, and then send an email saying, as per our conversation, this is what was agreed, boom, boom, boom. It's so much quicker to pick up the phone, especially obviously if we're dealing one-on-one here. It's more personal. When you speak to someone, you hear the tone of their voice. You hear, even if they're in a rush, like earlier I made a phone call and my client, or she has been a client, I was calling just to catch up. She was in the middle of something and she said, oh, I'm just in the middle of something. I said, that's great, that's fine. When would be a better time for me to call you back? But you have that personal connection and it makes it more real for both of you. So this is especially useful in a business context. And if you are forging relationships, it's so much more personal to speak. And actually, in some ways, that makes it harder for people, if they have answered, to then ignore you. An email we can ignore for weeks, right? Have a look down through your emails and see what's your oldest unread email. It's probably or unresponded to email. So it's quite easy to ignore an email. And it's what the phone was invented for. Texting's great, emailing's great, all the swiping, blah, blah, blah. But actually having that human interaction of a conversation is so important. I would say that I'm a vocal confidence specialist. However, I do get the challenges. So why are people afraid to pick up the phone? There are a couple of reasons. So people who don't like receiving unknown numbers or answering them, it's very often because you think there's going to be a sales call. Now, if this is your personal life, then fair enough, it may well be. If this is your business life, if you're using your phone for business, if you're afraid to answer that phone, you're potentially ignoring clients. So, if it's an annoying call, if it's a call from a call center somewhere that you don't want to deal with, you just say, I'm very sorry, I'm not interested, thank you, goodbye, and hang up. But it might be someone who is interesting to you. Picking up the phone and making phone calls has become a challenge. I must say, hands up, there are times when sometimes I find it like, oh, right, I have to sit down and go, right, I'm going to make phone calls today. And I have to remind myself that actually I like it when someone calls me. I like it if someone I've worked with says, I'm just calling to check in and see how you are. I like it if someone calls me. There was a call I got earlier from an unknown number. It was a customer service department of something that I'd had a challenge with. And instead of doing back and forth emails, they picked up the phone to say, just wanted to let you know, we've got your thing. Actually, what you were expecting isn't what we had put on there. This is what we had said. And it cleared up the matter in a matter of about 90 seconds. So although it might take you that little bit of a breath to make that phone call, it's so important because you have to be able to have that connection. Now, sometimes it might happen that someone is busy, right? The fear is very often, oh, but I don't want to be interrupting someone. What if they're busy? If they're busy, they won't answer the phone. And then it goes to voicemail. And the next thing is to leave a voicemail. And in the voicemail, say, I will follow this up with an email. And then you send an email saying, as per my voicemail, this, and this, it would be great to catch up. When would be good for you? And especially if it's business, here's a link to my diary. Right? So having a link to your calendar is really useful if you have one of them. And sometimes it happened to me earlier today. I phoned and left a message. The person clearly didn't listen to the voicemail, so hadn't known who called them, just called back, said, who is it? I said, it's Judith. She said, sorry, who? I said, Judith Quinn. And the phone went dead. Now, either they hung up because they just didn't want to speak to me, or they've decided they don't like me. Or it's quite possible, because the weather's a bit wonky, my signal completely cut and it just went. That's okay. I then sent them a text saying, it's Judith, this is why I was calling, left it in your voicemail, hope to speak to you soon. Now, I know that for some people might be terrifying, because you feel, but what if they just hung up on me and they didn't want to speak to me, and all the imposter syndrome stuff comes up, and the people pleasing, oh no, someone doesn't like me. But again, especially if this is business orientated, if that is true, then great, you've got one person less who you have to worry about. And if it's not true, then they'll call back when they have time. It might just be that they thought you were someone else and they were expecting a call. So this has gone on a little longer than my normal Thursday tidbits, but it's really important. And I saw a couple of posts today. It's what sparked this as today's tidbit, of someone saying, oh, I don't pick up the phone. I'm going live here as well as the recorded version. And the lovely Chrissy said, there's a little extent of fear for receiving unknown numbers, because when I used to be in so much debt. And so, yeah, that can be a thing. Very often the biggest fear is the picking up the phone and actually making the call yourself, because you have a fear of rejection. So we go back to what I've said in a lot of these Thursday tidbits, is remember, it's not personal, it's structural. And that person is either busy, or you're not who they were expecting, or if it is personal, then that's okay, because that's not personal either. They might think that you're wanting something that you're not. But pick up the phone, make those connections, because when you do, there is a deeper relationship there. It becomes so much more embedded, because when you hear someone's voice, you know much more how they are feeling. So my client earlier, who said, oh, I'm really busy at the moment, can you call like sort of after work in a couple of weeks? It's like, yes, I can. That gives me something really specific that I can do. And that's a question you can ask. Sorry, you're busy right now. When would be a good time for me to call? So especially anyone watching this who is self-employed, running your own business, pick up the phone, make those connections. If you get the no, that saves you time in the future. If you get the I'm busy, ask for when you can call, and then you've got something specific. And sometimes you pick up the phone and someone goes, oh, it's so lovely to hear from you. Thank you. So build those relationships, get communicating, because that's what the phone was invented for. Ironically, of course, I am recording this on my phone. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.